The ocean stretched endlessly beneath us, a vast expanse of azure that beckoned with the promise of discovery. I stood on the bridge of our submersible, the horizon, as anticipation crackled in the air. Captain Klaus, a man whose charisma was matched only by his ambition, adjusted the controls with practiced ease. I glanced at Anya, our brilliant engineer, whose eyes sparkled with excitement, and Felix, the biologist, who was already lost in thoughts of the marine life that awaited us. "Are you ready for this?" Klaus broke the silence, his voice booming and filled with enthusiasm. "Ready as I'll ever be," I replied, feeling my heart race. The signals we had intercepted from this distant oceanic planet hinted at something extraordinary, and my mind raced with possibilities. "Just think of it, guys. We could be on the verge of uncovering an entirely new civilization," Felix added, peering out at the swirling currents. "Imagine what we might learn." Anya turned her gaze from the consoles, her brow furrowing slightly. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to remain grounded. We don't know what we'll find down there." "Always the cautious one, Anya." Klaus chuckled, though I could see a flicker of respect in his eyes for her analytical mind. "But that's why we have you. Your tech will guide us through." With a final glance at the surface, Klaus pressed a button, and the submersible began its descent. The water enveloped us like a thick blanket, the light from our exterior lamps cutting through the murky depths. As we sank deeper, the colors of the ocean morphed from a bright cerulean to a darker, more mysterious hue. My pulse quickened with each passing second. "Visuals are coming in clear," Anya reported, her fingers dancing over the controls. "I'm detecting unusual structures below us. They're massive, much larger than anything we expected." "Structures?" Felix's voice rose with excitement. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. They're not natural formations," she confirmed, her eyes widening at the screen. "They appear to be ruins? Look at the shape of that one." Klaus leaned closer, his expression a mix of awe and determination. "This is it. This is what we came for. Prepare for a closer look." As we approached the ocean floor, the ruins came into clearer focus, enormous structures, their surfaces adorned with vibrant coral and glowing bioluminescent organisms that pulsed with a life of their own. They looked ancient, as if they had been waiting for us for centuries. "By the stars," Felix whispered, staring in wonder. "This is incredible." "Anya, scan the area," Klaus ordered, his excitement palpable. "We need to know what we're dealing with." "Yes, Captain," Anya replied, her voice steady as she activated her advanced scanning equipment. The screen filled with images of intricate designs and strange symbols etched into the ruins, each one telling a story that had long been forgotten. "Look at these symbols," Anya exclaimed, her fingers tracing the air as she analyzed the data. They could be a form of writing, maybe even a record of their civilization's history. Felix leaned in closer, his curiosity piqued. "What does it say? Can you translate it?" "Not yet. It's too complex," Anya admitted. "But we're definitely looking at something monumental. This civilization must have been incredibly advanced." Just as the excitement reached its peak, a sudden movement caught my eye. "Felix? Where did he?" Before I could finish my sentence, a gasp escaped my lips as I watched Felix slip into a crevice in the ruins. "Felix!" Klaus shouted, his voice filled with urgency. "Come back." Without thinking, I propelled myself toward the opening, the adrenaline coursing through me. "We can't leave him behind," I yelled, glancing back at Klaus and Anya, who were both already moving to follow. "Stay close," Klaus commanded as we plunged deeper into the shadows of the ruins. The walls were now alive with the flickering lights of the bioluminescent organisms, illuminating our path as we ventured further into the unknown. "Felix!" I called out, my voice echoing through the vast chamber. The air felt charged, thick with an energy that sent shivers down my spine. "Where are you?" He emerged from a dim alcove, his face lit with wonder and fear. "You have to see this," he exclaimed, his voice quivering with excitement. We stepped into a grand chamber, the vastness of the space overwhelming. In the center, pulsating technology hummed softly, casting an ethereal glow around us. The atmosphere shifted, a sense of significance settling over us as we took in the marvel before our eyes. "What have we found?" Klaus murmured, his eyes wide with realization. I could feel it too. We were standing on the brink of something that could change everything. As I stepped further into the chamber, the air around me seemed to thrum with energy. The pulsating lights of the alien technology cast eerie shadows on the walls, illuminating the intricate designs that spiraled endlessly. I felt a mixture of awe and trepidation. "What do you think it is, Klaus?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, as if raising it might shatter the delicate atmosphere. Klaus, his eyes alight with ambition, stepped closer to the central structure, a towering device that loomed like a monolith. "This is history, Anya. This technology, it could change everything." He reached out, his fingers brushing against the surface of the device, and suddenly, a surge of light erupted from it. Holographic images burst into existence around us, swirling like a tempest of colors and shapes. I stumbled back, captivated by the vivid scenes playing out before my eyes. Ancient cities bustling with life, alien beings engaged in what appeared to be complex rituals, and finally, the slow decline of their civilization, marked by devastation and despair. I could hear echoes of their voices, words I could not understand, but the emotion was palpable. Felix, standing beside me, gasped, "This is incredible. It's like we're witnessing their history unfold." His excitement was infectious, but I couldn't shake the weight of the images, the warnings etched in despair. Klaus, however, was entranced. "Look at their advancements. They had knowledge far beyond ours. Imagine what we could achieve." His fervor was intoxicating, yet something in the back of my mind warned me to tread carefully. As the holograms shifted, I caught glimpses of their technology, devices that seemed to manipulate time and space, bending reality itself. It was breathtaking and terrifying all at once. "Klaus, we need to be cautious. We don't know what this technology is capable of," I cautioned, my heart racing. "Cautious? This is our chance. A chance to elevate humanity," he replied, his voice rising in fervor. "We can correct our mistakes, Anya. All of them. But at what cost?" I shot back, my voice firm. "We could be tampering with forces we don't understand. What if we're not ready?" Felix, now fully engaged in the unfolding spectacle, chimed in, "But think about it. We could end poverty, eliminate disease, we could reshape the future." His eyes sparkled with possibilities, but I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. This was the kind of ambition that could lead to ruin. Let's take a moment," I suggested, trying to regain some semblance of reason. "We need to analyze this technology. We can't rush in without understanding the implications." Klaus scoffed, "You're both thinking too small. This is about progress. We have a chance to be pioneers, to become gods." The fervor in his voice was palpable, and I could see the vision consuming him. As the last images faded, a heavy silence settled over us. I glanced at Felix, who seemed torn between excitement and uncertainty. "Felix, what do you think?" I asked, hoping he would see the weight of our choices. "I don't know," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. "It's amazing, but Klaus has a point. This could help so many people, but—" "There's always a but, isn't there?" I interrupted gently. "We're standing on the brink of something monumental, and we have to consider the consequences of our actions." Just then, the device emitted a low hum, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. "What's happening?" I asked, glancing nervously at Klaus. "I'm not sure," he replied, his bravado faltering. "It seems to be responding to us." His fingers danced nervously over the controls, and I could sense the tension mounting in the air. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber, resonating deep within me, though I could not see where it came from. "You are not ready for what you seek." The sound was both haunting and melodic, sending chills down my spine. Klaus froze, his eyes wide. "Who's there? Show yourself," he demanded, but the voice only deepened, reverberating through the walls. "Your intentions are clouded by ambition. The power you desire has consequences that extend beyond your comprehension," it warned, an ominous note lingering in the air. Felix and I exchanged worried glances. The weight of the moment hung heavily upon us, the reality of our situation dawning like a storm on the horizon. The ancient civilization had left behind a warning, and I was beginning to understand the gravity of our discovery. As I stood in the pulsating glow of the alien technology, the air thick with tension, I felt an immense presence emerging from the shadows of the chamber. Nereus, the guardian of these ruins, glided forward, his translucent form shimmering like the ocean itself. His voice resonated through the chamber, deep and melodic, sending ripples of unease through me. "You seek power," he said, his eyes narrowing. "But such power comes with a price." The civilization that once thrived here learned that lesson too late. I exchanged a glance with Klaus and Anya. Klaus, ever the ambitious leader, stepped forward. "We understand the risks, Nereus. But think of what we could achieve. With this technology, we can elevate humanity, prevent wars, heal the planet. We could." "Repeat the mistakes of my people," Nereus interrupted, his tone sharp as a blade. "Greed led to our downfall. You cannot fathom the consequences of misusing this technology. I have witnessed civilizations rise and fall, and I will not allow you to walk the same path." Felix, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. "But we're not like them. We're here to learn, to understand. We can handle it responsibly." His voice was shaky, and I could sense his internal conflict. Nereus regarded him with a mix of pity and caution. "Your intentions may be noble, but intentions can be twisted. The heart of humanity is fickle, and it is not the power itself that is dangerous, it is the one who wields it. I cannot guide you if you do not recognize the weight of your choices." Klaus, undeterred by Nereus's warnings, turned to Anya and me, his eyes blazing with determination. "We must continue. We can prove to Nereus that we can be trusted. Together, we can control it." "Control," I echoed, a pit forming in my stomach. "Klaus, do you truly believe we can control something we barely understand? This isn't just a tool, it's a force that can reshape reality itself." He dismissed my concerns with a wave of his hand. "Anya, you're the engineer. You can help me figure it out. We can harness this power for good. Trust me." Nereus sighed, a sound like the ebb and flow of tides. "If you wish to proceed, I will guide you. But know this, my guidance is not an endorsement of your actions. The path you choose will shape not only your fate but the fate of your world." With a reluctant nod, Nereus began to lead us further into the ruins. My heart raced as I followed, anticipation and dread swirling within me. What if Klaus's ambition blinded him to the truth? What if we were stepping into a trap laid by our own greed? As we entered the second chamber, the atmosphere shifted. It was larger than the first, filled with artifacts that glimmered under the bioluminescent light. Each piece seemed to tell a story, echoing significant events from Earth's history. I could hardly breathe as I realized the implications. "Look at this," I said, pointing to a mural depicting a great conflict. They watched us. They saw our wars, our struggles. They knew we would repeat history. Felix stepped closer, studying the intricate designs. "It's as if they were trying to warn us. This civilization wanted to protect us, perhaps even guide us, but we've ignored their lessons." Klaus scoffed, his frustration palpable. "This is all fascinating, but we can't dwell on the past. We need to focus on what we can do with this knowledge. We can change everything." "Change everything?" I countered, my voice rising. "Or repeat the same mistakes. We're standing on the brink of something monumental, Klaus. We need to be careful." "I'm not afraid of what we can become," he declared, his eyes alight with fervor. "We have the chance to rewrite our history." The tension in the chamber was suffocating. Nereus watched silently, a ghost of a frown gracing his features. I felt the weight of his gaze, a reminder of the responsibility we bore. As we continued to explore the chamber, unease settled heavily on my shoulders. The artifacts seemed to whisper secrets, histories intertwined with our own. In that moment, I realized how easily ambition could cloud judgment, and I feared for our team. "Let's just take a moment," I suggested, breaking the silence that had enveloped us. "We need to discuss our next steps. We can't rush headlong into this without considering the consequences." Klaus turned to me, frustration etched on his face. "You're too cautious, Anya. This is our chance to make a real difference." "But at what cost?" I replied, my voice firm. "We need to tread carefully. We're not just dealing with technology, we're dealing with lives, with futures." Nereus stepped between us, his presence calm yet commanding. "The path you choose will resonate through time. Choose wisely." As I looked at my teammates, I realized we stood at a crossroads. The allure of power tugged at us, but so did the weight of responsibility. I only hoped we could find a way to navigate the tides of ambition without losing ourselves along the way. The air within the submerged ruins felt electric, charged with an energy that pulsed through the very walls around us. As I stood there, staring at the shimmering device in the center of the chamber, strange images began to flicker in my mind. They weren't merely visions, they were vivid snapshots of realities yet to come. I could see a world ravaged by conflict, cities reduced to ashes, and faces of despair. I blinked hard, trying to shake off the disquieting images, but they clung to me like seaweed.
Anja, are you all recht?
Felix's voice pulled me from my reverie, and I turned to see the concern etched on his face. I don't know, Felix. It's like I'm seeing things. Future things, I confessed, my voice shaky. I saw destruction, war, everything we're trying to prevent. Felix exchanged a worried glance with Klaus, who had been studying the device with an intensity that bordered on obsession. What do you mean? Future things, he pressed. It's hard to explain. When I focused on the device, it was as if it opened a window to potential futures. It was chaotic and violent. I hesitated, gauging their reactions. I think we need to be careful. This technology, it's more powerful than we imagined. Klaus, however, was unfazed. Anja, this is precisely why we're here. To harness this power, to reshape humanity for the better. You can't let fear cloud your judgment. His tone was almost pleading, but there was an edge to it that made my skin crawl. Reshape humanity? Klaus, think about what you're saying. I shot back, my voice rising. What if we're not meant to wield this power? What if it leads to the very future I saw? Felix stepped between us, sensing the rising tension. Klaus, you need to listen to Anja. If there's even a chance that this technology could lead to destruction. Destruction? Klaus interrupted, his voice rising in frustration. Or evolution. You both are looking at this the wrong way. We have a chance to create a new world, one free from the mistakes of the past. Or one that repeats them. I countered, unable to keep my voice steady. The weight of the situation pressed down on me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Klaus was becoming increasingly unhinged. Just then, Felix's eyes widened in realization. He hurriedly began sifting through the data on his tablet. There's something I found earlier. Klaus, you might want to see this. He turned the screen toward Klaus, who leaned in, momentarily distracted from his fervor. What is it? Klaus asked, his tone shifting to one of curiosity. It's a log from the ancient civilization. It details their downfall, how their misuse of this same technology led to catastrophic events. They thought they could control it, just as you do now. Felix's voice was firm, cutting through the tension. Klaus straightened, his expression faltering for the first time. That's just a part of their history. We're different. We have the wisdom of hindsight. But do we really? I pressed, feeling a surge of urgency. Are we truly any different? We're still human, driven by ambition and desire. We can't ignore the lessons of those who came before us. Klaus clenched his jaw, visibly torn. I need to think. He stepped away, pacing as he processed our words. I exchanged a worried glance with Felix. Do you think he'll listen? I whispered. Felix sighed, shaking his head. I'm not sure. He's too far gone, and the more he learns, the more he seems to want to control everything. As we stood there, the atmosphere shifted again. The device in the center of the chamber pulsed rhythmically, almost as if responding to the tension between us. I felt a chill run down my spine. Klaus, maybe we should. But before I could finish, Klaus's eyes ignited with a manic glint. No more hesitations. We're on the brink of a breakthrough. He moved toward the device, and dread washed over me. I'm going to activate it. Don't. Felix shouted, rushing forward, but it was too late. Klaus's fingers hovered over the controls, and with a swift motion, he pressed a series of buttons. The device began to hum, and the air crackled with energy. I felt a pull, a gravitational shift that made my stomach lurch. What have you done? I cried out, my voice swallowed by the growing din. The chamber lit up in a blinding flash, and in an instant, everything changed. The world around us blurred, and I felt myself being yanked through time and space. The visions I had experienced earlier morphed into reality, and I was no longer in the ruins. Instead, I found myself standing in an apocalyptic landscape, the sky dark and choked with smoke. I could hear distant echoes of chaos, sirens blaring, buildings collapsing, and the cries of despairing people. My heart raced as I turned to see Felix and Klaus beside me, their expressions frozen in shock. This is what we could become, I whispered, my voice trembling. Klaus's face was pale, the weight of his choices crashing down upon him. What have I done? He murmured, realization dawning as we stood on the precipice of our own making, the gravity of our mission pressing heavily upon our shoulders. As the rift closed behind us, the oppressive silence of the ruins felt like a tangible weight pressing down on my shoulders. My heart raced, still echoing with the terrifying visions of what could be. The chamber seemed darker now, the pulsating lights of the alien technology casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls, mocking our predicament. I turned to Felix, who stood with a troubled expression, his brow furrowed in concern. "We can't let Klaus continue with this madness," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "He's lost sight of what really matters." Felix nodded, his eyes darting toward the captain, who was still staring at the now dormant device, his ambition undeterred. "We need to confront him. If he activates that technology again, we could face unspeakable consequences." I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "Let's do it together." We approached Klaus, who stood with his back to us, lost in thought. I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "Klaus," I called out, my voice echoing through the chamber. "We need to talk." He turned slowly, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. "What is it now? Can't you see I'm trying to comprehend the power we've uncovered? This is our chance to change everything." "Change everything?" Felix interjected, stepping forward. "You're talking about playing God. You have no idea what you're risking. We've seen the future, Klaus. It's not utopia, it's destruction." Klaus's expression hardened. "You think I don't understand the stakes? This technology is a gift, one we can wield for the good of humanity. You're both blinded by fear." I stepped closer, anger surging through me. "No, Klaus. You're blinded by ambition. You refuse to see that this power comes with responsibility. We need to abandon this place before it's too late." He scoffed, shaking his head. "You're both overreacting. I won't let fear dictate our future. We can control it if we just—" Before he could finish, Nereus emerged from the shadows, his ethereal form shimmering with a menacing aura. "You speak of control, but the power you seek can only be wielded by those with pure intentions. Your desires are tainted, Captain." Klaus's face twisted in disbelief. "You think you can intimidate me with your warnings? I am not afraid of you, nor of the power within these walls." Nereus's voice resonated like thunder, echoing through the chamber. "You do not understand the consequences of your actions. The technology you covet destroyed my civilization. You must leave this place, or face annihilation." I could see the conflict brewing within Klaus. The flicker of doubt in his eyes was almost imperceptible. "But enough." Nereus interrupted, his tone sharp. "You must listen. Your ambitions will lead to ruin. This power is not meant for you or your kind. You must leave now." Felix and I exchanged glances, desperation creeping into our expressions. "Klaus, please," I urged. "He's right. We need to heed his warning. We can't risk losing everything." But Klaus's eyes burned with a fierce determination. "I won't abandon this opportunity. I will prove you both wrong." Before we could respond, Klaus lunged toward the device, his fingers hovering over the controls. My heart sank. "No. Klaus, don't." I shouted, panic rising in my chest. But it was too late. With a swift motion, he activated the technology. The chamber trembled, a surge of energy radiating outward like ripples in water. I stumbled backward as the ground beneath us shook violently. "Klaus, stop it!" Felix yelled, his voice barely audible over the cacophony. But Klaus was entranced, his eyes wide with a manic intensity. "I can harness it. I can reshape our fate." The ambient light intensified, blinding us as the machine whirred to life. I felt a wave of fear wash over me as the walls began to crack, ancient stone groaning under the strain of the unleashed power. Nereus surged forward, his presence a calming force amidst the chaos. You must cease this madness. The energy is unstable. I grabbed Felix's arm, pulling him away from the device. We have to get out of here. I screamed, my voice cutting through the chaos. But Klaus was lost to us, consumed by his obsession. The chamber erupted in a blinding light, the walls trembling as the very foundation of the ruins began to tremble. I could feel the impending doom looming over us, an inescapable truth that this moment would change everything. The moment the chamber began to tremble, my heart raced. The very walls of the ancient ruins seemed to shudder in response to Klaus's reckless actions.
Anya.
We need to stabilize the energy. Felix shouted over the cacophony of crumbling stone and electric hums. I nodded, adrenaline coursing through me as I grasped the gravity of our situation. We had to act fast. Can you divert the energy flow? I asked, my voice barely audible above the chaos. Felix's brow furrowed in concentration as he began to manipulate the holographic controls that flickered before us, a remnant of the alien technology that had drawn us here. I think so, but I need you to help me with the frequency modulation, he replied, his hands dancing over the shimmering interface. I joined him, my fingers flying over the controls as I tried to remember the principles of energy dynamics we had studied back on Earth. Focus, Anya. We can't let Klaus's greed destroy us all. Felix's urgency snapped me back into the moment. I glanced back at Klaus, who was still consumed by the pulsating device, his eyes wild with ambition. Stop. Klaus, you need to get out of there. I yelled, but it was as if he couldn't hear me, lost in a trance of his own making. The tremors intensified, and the chamber began to cave in around us. No. I can control it. I can reshape everything. Klaus shouted, his voice rising over the din. But as he spoke, the very ground beneath him cracked, tendrils of energy spiraling out of control. Anya now. Felix urged, and with a deep breath, I concentrated on the controls, my mind racing to align our intentions with the technology. The holographic interface flickered violently, responding to our desperate efforts. We worked in tandem, the energy flowing between us like a living entity. I could feel the pulse of the chamber, the weight of its history pressing against my chest. We can do this. Just keep focusing. I encouraged Felix, who nodded, sweat glistening on his forehead. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the device, and in that moment, I saw Klaus's face transform from determination to terror. The energy surged, engulfing him in a whirlwind of light. No, Klaus. I screamed, but it was too late. The force consumed him, and with a deafening roar, the chamber began to implode. We stumbled back, narrowly avoiding the collapsing structure. Nereus. I shouted, searching for the Guardian amidst the chaos. He emerged from the shadows, his form shimmering with ethereal light. The technology was never meant to be wielded in such a manner, he said, his voice resonating through the tumult. It was a gift to be protected, not exploited. Felix and I exchanged a glance, the weight of our actions dawning on us. We have to seal it. We can't let anyone else find this place. I declared, my voice steady despite the chaos around us. Nereus nodded solemnly. You understand now. Power without responsibility leads to ruin. We turned back to the interface, our hands moving in unison to initiate the containment protocol. The device whirred to life, and a shimmering barrier began to envelop the chamber. The ruins shuddered one last time before the energy stabilized, locking the technology away from the world above. As the light faded and the ground settled, I felt a profound sense of loss wash over me. The remnants of the ancient civilization, once vibrant with life, were now fading into the depths. We did it, Felix whispered, his voice filled with awe and disbelief. Yes, but at what cost? I replied, the weight of our decision resting heavily on my shoulders. We had saved ourselves and perhaps the universe, but the price was steep. As we swam away from the ruins, the haunting images of Klaus and the collapsing chamber lingered in my mind. We had chosen to protect humanity from the past, vowing to safeguard our world from the mistakes that had nearly consumed us. The depths were serene now, the bioluminescent creatures illuminating our path as we made our way back to the surface. I felt a renewed sense of purpose ignite within me. Perhaps this was our chance to start anew, to learn from the shadows of ambition that had nearly swallowed us whole. Never again, I murmured, glancing at Felix, who nodded in agreement. Together, We would ensure that the lessons of the ancients were not forgotten, that the true burden of power lay in its responsible use. And with that promise, we rose towards the light above, leaving behind the echoes of a civilization that had warned us long before we ever arrived.